Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Fantasize. Its 5-year mission to finish a 3-hour tour.
A 3-hour tour.
To seek out new lies, to explore fake worlds, to boldly show what all men have known before. Hello once again. Welcome back to another Haphazard production. I hope this doesn't bother you too much. Well, just the back and forth. Little sketch I was working on a few years ago. Little, 10 by 12 feet, little. I like to go into some minor details, and look at some curious anomalies that we have on our place of existence. How did this ship get out in the desert? Alright. Well, there's the ocean back there. Way in the background, so it must have receded. or something. At any rate, very difficult production today. You're going to be seeing pieces of the ideas that I have. Hopefully they will give you the generating, radiant, wonderful... If you bless water, this kind of stuff happens to it. It's freaky. So all you got to do is be nice, be happy, tell your water you love it, then drink it. This is the main issue I was talking about today was us taking over our economy and revolutionary change. That will never happen. I will show some videos about the monetary situation and, peyote. I will also show some minor details. See, minor detail on some other issues dealing with currency. This is Paul Wahlberg, one of the early connivers against our society so that he could be ultra wealthy and these guys could share the enjoyment of all of that power. But bringing these things up is just a story, we just look at it and go, oh wow, that's terrible, or oh wow, that's great, I wish I was one of those people. But in my essay today, it's going to be about the sunken ship of America. It's going to be about what we can do about it, and who is really just going to think, or who is really going to act. I made this in 2000. It was an experiment. This image when I first began my this is another thing I was working on for quite some time, this sword, and it has not yet to this day been properly tempered, not unlike myself. So I hope you enjoyed today's production. We're going to go through a whole bunch of great things. Great. See, she's on a great. So that's all part of the etc. that we're going to. So enjoy. I hope you like what you've seen in the production so far, and I'm still working on it, kids. Thanks for the new subs. That's why this one's out. It's just a curiosity. It's something to think about, as like we each have behavior patterns and that each one of us notices. Some considered to be more refined and others to be more curt. And I don't know if you know Kurt, but he's not a bad guy. At any rate, today's essay is going to be on what I have been harping about. I wanted to show you a video that of course, was in my recommended. Now I'm going to have to give YouTube some thumbs up, kudos on their recommendations to be directly in line after watching my video about us printing our own money and that type of thing. Now reinforcement video came up directly after that, which I'm going to show here. Now when you couple this video by Cold Fusion into the rest of my comments and the concepts that I am about to All right, now most people don't understand that money is created from thin air. Essentially, here's a quote that I'm going to bring up right here in this Who Controls All of Our Money on Cold Fusion, and it's a fact that...
Quote, when you or I write a check, there must be sufficient funds in our account to cover the check. But when the Federal Reserve writes a check, there is no bank deposit on which that check is drawn. When the Federal Reserve writes a check, it is creating money. End quote. So in essence, they're writing a check and creating money from an account that has no money in it. The money the Federal Reserve creates can be used as legal tender to buy things and eventually makes its way into the real economy. If you and I did that, we'd go to jail for fraud, but they can do it because they invented the system. This is the same system used throughout the world today.
Throughout the world. Now, this is used throughout the world today, this system of monetary exchange where paper is printed, and the paper essentially is first of all, it's created out of thin air, and the only thing backing this paper is an idea. But with the concepts I'm about to present, or I am presenting in this video, is that the reason the interest rates are so high is because of the people that control the interest rates. And this particular video actually exposes how it came about, and who has control and how they actually gain control. And I know my concepts are going to sound a little bit outlandish, but not really. They're not really outlandish if you put yourself in a position of Congress, in a position of passing amendments to where we print our own, we are in control of our own interest rates. We would lose trillions of dollars of debt. Within 3 years, we would balance out, even with giving people 50 grand each. And I'm talking every citizen of the world. Like I said, it sounds crazy, but it's not really. Because if you give people the potential to actually create what they can create and to show how they are each individually, it's really going to help society to form a more positive nature. All right. Well, thank you for taking the time to watch this. And comment, like, and subscribe, please. Henry Ford. It is well enough that people of our nation do not understand our banking and monetary system, for if they did, I believe there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning. And that is Henry Ford. Now, this particular video goes through everything. It does not emphasize, it talks about these people that have taken over world economies. It talks about how they are not responsible or present day.
Today, the Federal Reserve is the most powerful entity in the United States, and they're not ashamed to admit it either. Here's former Fed Chairman Alan Greenspan.
What should be the proper relationship between a chairman of the Fed and a president of the United States?
Well, first of all, the Federal Reserve is an independent agency, and that means basically that there is no other agency of government which can overrule actions that we take. What the relationships are don't frankly matter.
In addition to this, it seems that the Fed can't even be touched by investigating parties.
So I'm asking you if your agency has, in fact, according to Bloomberg, extended $9 trillion in credit, which, by the way, works out to $30,000 for every single man, woman, and child in this country. I'd like to know, if you're not responsible for investigating that, who is?
We have responsibility for the Federal Reserve's programs and operations, audits, to conduct audits and investigations in that area. In terms of who's responsible for investigating, would you mind repeating the question one more time?
Mr. Chairman, my time is up, but I have to tell you honestly, I am shocked to find out that nobody at the Federal Reserve, including the Inspector General, is keeping track of this.
So what does all of this have to do with me, you might be asking? I don't even live in the US. Well, 2 reasons. Number 1, the The central banking model from the Bank of England and the United States has now been put in all countries, and even consolidated power in parts of Europe as the European Central Bank, or ECB. This unites separate countries under one economic policy. The only places in the world that don't have central banks are North Korea, Iran, and Cuba. In 2000, this list suspiciously included Afghanistan, Iraq, and Libya. And number 2. Since the end of World War II, the US dollar has been the reserve currency of the world. This means that all central banks hold US dollars in their reserves. In other words, all other currencies are backed by the US dollar. This directly links your country to the Federal Reserve's monetary policy in America. More on this later. When the post-World War II monetary system, called the Bretton Woods system, was created, all US dollars were backed by and exchangeable for gold. A byproduct of this was that currencies used to be very stable in relation to each other.
At any rate, you get the idea. And now it's about to show. Now, I suggest going to and watching the rest of this video from Cold Fusion. I will leave the link in my description. And she says, yeah, we are responsible for investment, but who? I don't know who. And so it's quite obvious that we need to take over this situation. Because we can, and because it would do not only us, it would do the world economy and the world people and the vitality of who and what we are and how we are. Get real. Think about what I'm saying about this. Now, if you say I'm unrealistic about it, I invite you to tell me why. However, if a lot of people are confused in that, well, everything would be changed. No, actually, you would just exchange the face cash for other face cash, and because of the differences in ratings and interests, each person could be given $20,000, $30,000 each working, couple, individual, single, whatever, just hand it out, basically. And you go, well, that decreases the worth of the money that is in existence. And to a degree, yes. But it also allows the economy to burst open where people want to buy things like property and or even do a property land division along with the grant of cash, so that people can develop land, give everyone anywhere from 2.5 to 5 acres, development plots and lots, and you go, well, that would take up all of America. Well, who's talking about America? I'm talking about world economy here. I'm talking about world expansion and exchange. If you were given, for instance, 2.5 to 5 acres of land and say $30,000 to $50,000 to work with, what would you do with it? And that would be the issue of a national or world economy, is what we individually would do with our lot and load and abilities. And that would determine actually the value of the paper. It would be backed by the work that the people put in. Now, whatever you're interested in or your interests are, be it wood carving or painting or gardening, or just whatever your particular interests are, for you to have the money to invest in those interests and the land to work your interests, would you be of value to anyone, anywhere? And I believe yes, even in my age now. If I were given what I just said, I would, in my opinion, I would develop it. Personally, I would set up wood carving, sword crafting, steelsmithing, as well as farming, as well as I would have property animals that I would tend to and care for, and have people, it would all chain react into this extremely valuable situation where I'm doing things that are valuable to others, able to create commodities for others, and each individual person has their own talents. And so if you're given the ability to expand your talents, you're not gonna? And that would be a part of the condition, I suppose you might call it the regime that I have in mind, is to allow people to express themselves without being oppressed in the first place. Now, if they have a problem with that, or if the individual person that's granted and gifted is unable to produce a valuable or productive type of situation, there would be, I wouldn't say it would be a consequence situation, it'd be more of a counseling situation, a guidance situation, in that the knowledge, learning, and expansion to understand how this particular society is put together and works. Faith in people and in the essence of good within people. Now, sure, the whole 666 satanic, the symbolic generation, moving people toward this and that. Yeah, but still, you like to do good things for good people, and nobody likes to get a knife in the foot. And so, I mean, these basic positive and negative, good and bad relationships are in people, in my opinion, people are drawn and prone more toward the good. It's just the oppressive natures of vibrations and etc. that we deal with on a daily basis, and more in the cities than out in the beauty of nature. And so, I believe I've pretty well covered my idea here. I'm going to go ahead and just post this as is, and hope you get it. And sure, I want us all to be able to conceive this, because it is possible. And I'll run for Congress. I got a good record. I got nothing. You could do a background checks, but I've already done my own background checks. And there was one hit that I took that is easily averted back 19, it's long, it's maybe 22, 23 years ago. No. So I'm clean. So vote Lance for Congress, and these are some of my ideas in the depths of perception in the haphazard universe. And thanks for playing. I'll come up with some more great stuff real quick here. I like to expose the lies and look at the curiosities that we haven't quite figured out yet. So stay tuned and come back, brought to you by 20 Mule Team Borax. Once again, thanks for playing. Talk to you soon.